Call the meeting to order. Rise for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do a roll call, please.
Underjohn.
Here.
Iowa.
Here.
Klein.
Here.
O'Dean.
Here.
Palmer. Here.
As a courtesy to the members of the audience and to the Board of Education, please silence your cell phones. Public will only be able to speak during public comment if signed up. If you haven't yet turned in your form to Dr. Merkel up here, please do so right now. You'll note there's a change in the order of our agenda to allow for some special guests tonight. We're excited to have a presentation coming in just a little bit, and it gives them more space to do their presentation, and then we'll hear public comment at the end of our meeting. But please get your form in right now if you're interested in speaking. Can I get a approval on the agenda?
So moved.
Support? All in favor?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so we have Central Elementary with us tonight. Looking forward to their presentation. And Mr. Gelmy, you want to take her away?
So got some kiddos here from Central. Come on up, guys.
All right.
Kiddos, come on up here. Some of our finest young scholars, right?
Yeah.
Here, let's do this. Let's have you guys kind of come. Let's see.
They can go right in the center.
Right over here, guys.
There.
I mean, I'm going to share a lot from the presentation, guys, and then you guys can kind of go over to some questions that I might have for you, okay, at the end, and we'll kind of go over those. And so I'll kind of cruise through it. All right. So, how you guys doing? Good. You're looking great tonight, I can tell you that. All right. So, just wanted to share some fun things that are happening at Central Elementary. And one of the things that we're doing is Pbis. And I'm going to have these guys at the very end here share some things that they like about Pbis and what we do at Central Elementary. So, but I'm going to kind of share just kind of what it is at Pbis or what it is we do. So I've got a lot of things in the PowerPoint, and guys, I don't want to bore too long with you guys. I want them to hear what you have to say about it. Okay. But what we do, or what is Pbis? It really is talking about positive behavior intervention systems. So we're implementing positive strategies to help grow our students and learning. We implement daily classroom lessons, building and transition routines, so learning for all students. We do rewards. We recognize students for positive behaviors, which you guys are going to talk about here in a little while, right? And then we also talk about a lot of positives that happen within the building. So why do we do this? Well, if you remember growing up, if you don't understand math, we'd reteach it to you. If you don't understand reading, we try to reteach that. Well, same with behavior. You know, if you don't know how to do behavior, we try to teach you. And this is an opportunity to teach that behavior with our kids. So it's a very big component of what we do as well. We develop some consistent expectations for our schools. We provide positive reinforcements. We teach our students with both visual and verbal consistencies of what things are expected in our schools. Helps reinforce positive behaviors and choices. And it creates that positive attention seeking. So we're hoping that kids want the positives more than they want the negatives. So we're hoping that that's the way things work with our Pbis system. So how and what data do we collect for Pbis? This is some details you guys probably don't know a whole lot about as students, but we do collect information when you guys have a misbehavior or somebody makes a mistake or goofs up in school. We document that in what's called SWIS. Within SWIS, we use that data then to identify what are our problems within a classroom, what are our problems in the environment. So for example, do we have problems on the playground? Do we have problems in the cafeteria? Do we have problems in the hallways? That information is really valuable. You guys could probably guess some areas we have more problems. What would you say? Playground. Playground.
Yeah.
Pretty consistent, right? Yeah. So, but that data helps us. Sometimes we have different issues, like let's say in the cafeteria. Sometimes, and if that's the case, we can use that data to change what we do. Maybe we change how many people we're having at lunch, or maybe we change, if it's the playground, we also look at the time of day. So a good example of that is we used to have, you guys might remember a few years ago, we'd line up coming in from recess, right? All this data said that we had big problems right at the end of our recess time. What do you think was happening? Weren't lining up, people pushing each other, right? Not making the best choices. So we looked at that data. We said, well, that was the time of day. Well, guess what we got rid of? What don't we do anymore? We don't line up, right? And you know what? That changed our behavior data. Things went down, right? So it improved it. So what we do, and I kind of explained that there, we change things within our building systems based on what our data says. And it changes every year. We change our building goals and expectations. We plan and support building initiatives. Our students help create positive student behavior plans. So for individual data, if we have a Pbis data on students where we say, oh, they're having a lot of problems with this type of behavior, when we create an individual plan for a student, we use that data to help support them better. Other than just sitting there and kind of brainstorming the same stuff over and over again for all different things, we want to make sure that is pertinent to that student. So that's what we use a lot of our data for. So does it work, right? Does this work? You guys think it works? Yeah. Are you just saying that because I'm asking you? Probably, right? But I think it works. I think our students do buy in on it because this, we did a building-wide initiative. You guys didn't know this. Staff knew this. And we said, hey, we really want to increase the amount of Bulldog tickets given during our recess time during the month of November. Why the month of November? We realized in our first couple of months of the school year, our playground had a lot of behavior problems. So we said, we looked at that data and said, we're going to try and really increase the amount of positives that we share with our students at that time. So what we did is we increased the number of tickets we were given at that time. And I'm blacked out. I lost my train. No worries. All right.
You weren't fast enough.
I gotta go faster. It's a good point.
You want the kids.
Are the tickets,
What's that?
like you can buy something after you get so many tickets? or
They're
is it
actually
just-
Bulldog tickets, right, guys? And I got pictures and you guys
Okay.
can see what they are. And so what the students do with the tickets is they put them in their classroom bins, and every week we bring those bins down to the office and we do drawings. And so with our drawings, we get to do certain things, right? Do you guys want to share some of the things we get to do when you draw for them? Go ahead, Casey. You get to do lunch with a cop,
Oh, fun.
Lunch with Mr. Galvin.
lunch with Mr. Gelmy. That's my favorite. Yeah, Jackson.
Get a book.
Get a book, right? We have a book
Nice.
vending machine that we wrote a GDF grant for. It's really cool in the very entryway, and they get tokens for a book from the vending machine. So
You can get like free laser tag.
free laser tag. Yep, we have different coupons and stuff from different businesses that hooked us up with some stuff.
Yeah.
Am I missing any, guys? What else we got? You remember? I think we can do like a free backpack, I think is one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, being I think it's wear pajamas for a day, wear a hat for the day. Yeah, some cool
Get out of
things.
class early.
You got a class early? Nobody uses that, do they, Cal? Right. So we try to do this during the month of November. We use different color tickets. And take a look, when we did that initiative, from August to October, we had 12 playground referrals per month. And I put August to December because that's the same data. We had 28 referrals. So in 1 month, that means we had 4 playground referrals. We increased our tickets, showing, hey, let's do these positive things. Let's hit up all our kids on what they're doing positively. And it decreased it by 3 times the amount of having fewer discipline referrals during the playground. So yeah, you guys didn't know that, but that's kind of the nerdy stuff our educators do, right? So it works. It really works. Here's an example of those tickets of what we do. It says we're always focused on being kind, being responsible, being safe, and being respectful. We hand them out to our kids. We collect them in class and draw names each Monday, right? We didn't today because it was a half day, right? So, yeah. Go ahead, Heather, for the next one there. This is what those tickets look like. So they get to choose of those things there. When they do lunch with a cop, we schedule it with our SRO, our school resource officer. So it's really fun. Officer Jake comes in and meets you guys, and then I do lunch with kids. It's really fun. Okay, next one. We also have these acknowledgements we do. We do the Bulldog tickets. We do bracelets given in a classroom, right? You get one bracelet in class per week for about 4 total weeks. About 4 total for the month. Each assembly we do assemblies once a month, and we celebrate with getting t-shirts at that assembly for a student in each, one student in each class, just kind of a celebration of all of those pillars that they're doing, of being safe, being responsible, respectful, and kind. So we acknowledge them a lot of ways. We do building celebrations. What was a building celebration we did recently? Do you remember that one, Osman, what we did in a building? We had this big event where we had like these food and drink. Do you remember what it was? Yeah. Yeah, the hot cocoa party, right? We did hot chocolate and donut party, right? Yeah. So we set a goal for the month of December because we looked at last year's data and guess which month we saw the most discipline in? December, right? So we said, hey, let's set a goal to get more tickets. So we're a pretty small building, right? And we've got, a lot fewer kids. We ended up setting a goal for 1,000 Bulldog tickets, which we thought was pretty high. We ended up in 2 weeks getting 1,600 tickets, which is about a little over 6 tickets a kid,
Wow.
which was awesome. And wouldn't you believe it? Our discipline went down during the month of December. It was great data to share. So we decreased our classroom behavior discipline, and then you guys got your hot chocolate donut party, right? It was pretty cool, wasn't it? All right. So go ahead. Okay. So now I went over all the stuff in here, but I want to hear from you guys of things that you like. Okay. About, yeah, go ahead, Kelly. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, Kelly. I'll fix that next time. My apologies.
Is it with a
Jeez
K?
Louise, this is terrible. I hope you don't fire me tomorrow. I might get you an extra lunch. All right. So who wants to share something that you like or some things you like about PBIS? I know you guys kind of prepared a little bit for this, so who wants to start? Jason, go ahead.
It's always encourage kids to do well and to earn student of the month. You get a special t-shirt and other students see the acknowledgement you make during the whole month.
Yeah, those assemblies are pretty cool, isn't it? You get that t-shirt and it's in front of all your student body there. And you get to celebrate all that stuff. Awesome. Who else wants to share something? Go ahead, Osman.
What I like about PBIS celebrations is it's fun to feel like we really accomplished something, like big goals, and it feels good and like
Everyone's what, Sarah?
a big purpose.
Everyone's a big part of it, right? Doesn't matter who you are in our building, right? You all get to be part of what happens, right? Nobody is excluded from that event, right? Awesome. Go ahead, Osman.
I like about our PBIS celebrations is we work together as a class to earn.
Yeah, that is pretty fun, isn't it? You guys can have conversations, say how many tickets we can get in a class, right? Great.
But something that I like about the Bulldog tickets and drawing is when you receive the ticket, it's something to look forward on one day.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, isn't it? And then you say, hopefully it gets drawn that one day when we call those off, right? Well, you can.
Something I like about Bulldog tickets is because they encourage kids to do good things.
Yeah, that's exactly right? Anybody else want something? Casey, you want to share anything? No, you're good. You already shared earlier, right? You're pretty good with that. Does anybody else want to share different things that you like about PBIS in general or things in our building? Go ahead, Aubrey.
I like how like we can earn tickets at assemblies.
Yeah, so at some of our assemblies, when we're looking for that positive behavior, we actually had some students. Kelly, you were one of them, weren't you? That were watching students and if they're making good choices in the assembly, they give them tickets and say, hey, thank you for doing a nice job. Thank you for being attentive. And it's amazing. I noticed when you gave it to 2 of the kiddos, 2 kids right next to them, they went just like this and started watching. They're waiting for theirs. So it was pretty cool. Pretty cool. Jackson?
I also got something about our assembly.
Yeah.
Also, the shirts are something you can remember the day by.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
if you could keep the shirt.
Yeah. Yeah, those are pretty cool, aren't they? Anything in maroon is cool, right? Yeah. Awesome. Oswald?
Something I like about assemblies is that like it's super cool to see people win awards and everybody be so enthusiastic when they do win.
Yeah, it's a fun chance to cheer on different classmates that get that recognition, isn't it? Awesome. Go ahead, Alan.
I like about our assemblies is that people in our class get t-shirts that makes them happy and awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a win-win, right? Awesome. Anything else you guys want to share that you like about PBIS? Go ahead, kiddo. You got one?
I like that Mr. Downey celebrates with us.
Oh, yeah, I'm kind of a little kid sometimes.
I like when we get earned a lot of tickets so we can dress up in the chicken costume.
That was for reading, Mr. Gelman, because I'm like a We'll see what we do this year. We got March Dream Month coming up. I guess there's some good ideas. I think I'll have to solicit some students for that. Jace, what else, buddy?
Pbis celebrations are important incentive to encourage students to participate and achieve our school goals.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. I think the one thing that I really appreciate the most is it raises the bar for our students. And I would also say our staff, because we're all held accountable to make sure we're continually teaching those things. And it's really nice to have that consistency. So I agree, Jason. It's nice to kind of raise that bar for us to say, hey, we all want to be safe, be kind, respectful, and responsible. And I also will say it's really easy. When someone doesn't make the right choice, I can say to them, hey, is that being safe? And they know exactly what I'm talking about. They know, or are you being kind? They know exactly, what it's about. So good.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. You guys did
Thank
awesome.
Anyone else have any questions for Emily?
I just wonder is it hard to find the good and the right, or do you find kids that it's not hard
No.
to?
No, I think too many times in the past, we never noticed those things.
Okay.
We always notice if someone's goofing around,
Sure.
because it's easier to see someone that's not doing the, hey, but it's easier. And I think we're getting much better and it's a little bit easier now to say, hey, I really appreciate the way you're listening to me. Or man, you were doing such an awesome job doing the right thing, going down the slide instead of going up. And when you do that, you get a couple kids are like, huh, I want that attention, and they kind of change that behavior a bit. So we definitely notice a difference, but it's an adjustment as adults because that's not what we're used to.
Yeah, so
so
the
it's
adults
changing.
really maybe have to work harder.
Yeah. Our staff has grown, like we talk about adding these tickets, and hitting these goals. It's great for these guys, but it's just as important for our staff as well, because it reminds us how important it is that we do this, and we stick to it, and we can't just do it haphazardly. It's going to be unsuccessful. So it's, and our staff's fully bought in, so it's been great.
Yeah,
So.
that is good.
Anyone else?
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Yeah,
so
thank
much.
you guys.
Fantastic.
Yeah, you bet.
Appreciate you.
Students.
Fantastic. We're going to move on to reports, agenda, board member reports first. Let's start with Brent.
I'll be the first to say it while on your way out, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
Let me share what you're doing there. Thank you. Thanks for me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Time to adjust.
So just thank you for the parents again for coming in and giving us input. And the only thing I had to was just a shout out for our cheer team for a week and a half ago for stepping up and leading the cheer competition on National Anthem. So that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, that was a great video. Wasn't
It was fantastic.
it? Thank you. Bob,
Nothing.
nothing? Great. Amy.
In addition, I saw some amazing basketball being played. That final, oh my gosh, that final shot was amazing and so much fun to see. And it was all over everybody's Facebook, everybody's Grandville social media. It was fantastic. So a huge shout out to that. It was really cool that I got to go with Roger and some of our elementary teachers to go see the 5th, 6th grade buildings, to look at how GMB is working to alter the current middle school so that it will be a place that's more of a transition, not an elementary school, not quite this beautiful big building that's going to be for junior high, but its own special 5th, 6th grade building. They're going to take some of the walls out to make some kind of just a little bit more mature seating areas. We're talking about furniture and use and a lot of these rooms that are in the middle school are a bit smaller than what we saw at the elementary level. But man, the things that they're doing with them is going to be really cool. They're going to start using those courtyards to bring beauty into the, just a lot of really fun things. And the excitement on our teachers' faces was just a blast to watch, watching them dream, watching them contribute, watching them say, hey, this is kind of what we need for our space with 5th and 6th graders. So it was really fun for me to do that. I think our group just received a bunch of videos from the elementary with their musical productions. Oh my gosh, they were so well done and adorable. I'd like to make some reports from the Parks Department. One of the cool things that the Parks Department is doing is they're trying to partner with the police department to get cadets. So they're looking at partnering with the schools so they can talk about what it looks like to be a police cadet. And then they also, the Parks Department has offered to support the police in the park. They do that every summer, and they're going to pay half of the expenses for that. So there's a lot of really cool stuff going on between the schools and the parks right now too.
Where do the recruits come from?
Well,
Does Grandville have its own academy?
yeah, so they're
Okay.
talking about the
Okay.
Grandville Police Department wants to do that. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Well, I wanted to give thanks to my fellow board members for electing me to treasurer last couple weeks ago. I was stuck in Florida, really terrible, but honestly was kind of wanted to get home. But I appreciate your votes and your nomination. And then lastly, I just wanted to thanks for this board appreciation. I'm overwhelmed with all the kind words and gifts and things from our students. Some of them kind of bring a tear to your eye as they talk to how much they care about us and appreciate us. So I just want to thank them both, all of them who contributed. That's it.
Thank you so much. Christy.
I just want to comment that Roger and I are going to be presenting at the Michigan Association of Superintendents and Administrators Wednesday. And we were selected to present with GMB and regarding architecture and SEL being included in so much of our architecture in our buildings. So it's a tough competition to get in, so it's going to be awesome. Luckily, it's at the Amway. So it'll be attended by a lot of different school districts, so quite an honor. And that's it.
Christy, do you participate in what we're doing with GMB and here with the 7th and 8th grade building? Where they're really, trying to look at that space as
Yeah,
for
well,
SEL, I would
It
think,
really, the presentation focuses on how they included so many students in the design and the architecture on the inside of the building.
Okay.
To make it key surrounding their SEL programs and PBIS, everything that goes into kids' mental health. So I'm representing that mental health portion. And then GMB actually sought myself out with our programming. So it was really, really a great opportunity.
Jason.
Great. I think everyone hit on so many things. So yeah, new report.
Excellent. The first thing I want to start my report with is recognition that today is Dr. King's birthday, and it's an important day in our country and our history and our legacy to look back at it and learn. One of the things Dr. King said is the function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character, that is the true goal of education. So Dr. King, when I look at this, just understood the importance of education, but that it's more than just learning information, that it's not just facts and formulas, but it's an act of learning how to think for yourself, how to look critically at the world, and how to care for others around you. And I know that our community is represented by many folks in here tonight are here because they do all those things for their children at home, in their churches, in our community organizations, and also here in the walls of our school. Another thing Dr. King said is darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. And I think in these times to myself and to my family, my friends, my fellow board members and the community members here about how we're challenged. We have lots of different opinions and lots of different decisions to make here, but just to act with those words in mind, to keep compassion and grace for one another, to be kind with our words and our actions and our efforts. Much appreciation to everyone who's applied from all these schools, these abundant gifts, and gratitude to us. But I want to shout back out to them. Gratitude is all ours to give out to them. Our teachers, our staff members, our bus drivers, our administrators, our food service folks, everyone is just doing a phenomenal job. And I'm hearing their hard work. And I'm also hearing a little bit of, a morale drop. It's a hard time of the year, no matter what, but having been an educator, I know this is the slump of the winter. We need some sunshine, some vitamin D, but there's a lot going on. So I want to encourage my fellow board members to reach out to a few folks this week and just send them a quick letter of appreciation and encouragement that we see them. We know that they're doing wonderful things to keep our students safe and educated during these challenging times. Thanks to Diana Smoltz for those amazing videos. Like, I want videos like that all the time. We can't always go to programs. Speaking of having videos to attend things, thanks to Walt and his crew for having the video system set up in here. We're testing out providing video for our meetings and getting that recorded and put online. So folks who aren't able to attend can come back and view the meetings afterwards. So, but thank you to Diana for that. Kudos to the Be Nice program. I saw there's a news article that came out about opportunities for middle schoolers and high schoolers. I'm still hearing a lot from families about the challenges of their students emotionally right now. And I'm just so glad that we can be part of a program that leads and supports those efforts in West Michigan. So thanks to that. Had a great weekend attending swimming events, robotics events, and powerlifting. I talked about swimming. Well, actually, I want to stop 1 second and swim. Jack Merkel. Everyone needs to give a round of applause to that boy. He blew through that water this weekend. Multiple states, right? Multiple state qualifying times. It was so fun. Yeah, not yet. That the one on, was it the 500? I'm not so bad with numbers. Someone leaned over to me and said, "That kid's a freshman." I said, "Yes, that kid's a freshman." So congratulations to you and your family. It's a big deal. But powerlifting. Yesterday, Grandville hosted one of our first comprehensive, huge powerlifting events. And if you haven't ever had an opportunity to attend one of these things, please come and witness. It is so much fun. There's another one in 2 weeks in Mona Shores. It is the most encouraging and uplifting environment. All the teams from all the schools across the state, they come meet from far to attend these things, are helping one another. They are supporting each other. All I see is the character over and over that's going across the room. And people win, they're hugging, they're shaking hands. It was a great event. And Grandville did pretty well, varsity champions. So kudos to that as well. So, and thanks to everyone who participated in the tours this week. This part's going to be a little long-winded, but worth it. Our principals reached out this week and said one good thing about their building. So I'm going to share one good thing. West Elementary is working on some upgrades to their physical spaces, particularly in the in and out of their building. They've been planning and thinking about this for 3 years, and they're really excited to get that underway. So kids can come into a nice aesthetic and leave to a nice aesthetic. Grandview Elementary in December celebrated peace through a student window display, kind of like Macy holiday windows. And parents and grandparents were invited to come in and enjoy opportunities to gather safely and celebrate with their students, which is something that we're excited about being able to do again this year, having a little holiday party. South Elementary just got done benchmarking. It's where they take their scores and look at how each student is doing in their growth. And they had tremendous gains, especially in 3rd and 4th grade, which we're all very excited about, especially considering learning loss and the time that students have had off due to the pandemic. So they're really stoked about that. Central Elementary that was just here reached out and said that during the holidays, they supported 29 students and 16 different families through the holiday season with gift cards and food. That was done with partnership with 3 other local companies, Shop with a Cop, as well as many local churches that were working along with them. I said, no surprise that our community is driven to help one another. At Century Park, one of their VEX teams, the 205F Goats with Sprinkles, all the robotics teams have funny names, reached the Judges Award at the West Michigan New Year's Tournament just a couple weeks ago. And tomorrow they're holding their spelling bee, so they're really excited about that. The middle school, this is really cool. U.S. News and World Report has always ranked high schools. Now they're starting to rank middle schools and elementaries as well. And Grandville Middle School was put on their top list this year. That was based on the top 25% of middle schools based on math state assessments and so other reading and math assessments and other socioeconomic demographics. So that's a real big kudos to them to be a best middle school in our nation, especially the first time that the award has been given out by the nation.
Best in nation.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, great. And at our high school, they had 66 students compete at DECA. We recently had a DECA presentation. 66 of our students participated in the DECA districts at Fair State. We came home with, hold your hats, 130 medals, 50 state qualifiers, and Alana Organic, who actually presented here at the DECA presentation, got the highest presentation score in D2 at 98. So kudos to that program and developing our students with those sharp business skills. They'll serve them really well in life. And I hear that program is just so highly looked upon at universities. I also want to call out student senior Alan Bellinga, who won second prize and $1,000 scholarship from Tampa Human Rights Foundation for his essay. Out of the 80 essays they received from 50 high schools in 25 states, his was the top essay, and it was titled "The Results of Inaction, Wealth Inequality in America." And it was awarded the second prize. That's a really big deal. And finally, something we were all alerted to in our board update, but I want to share publicly, is that 2010 Grandville High School graduate Parker Van Deventer was awarded the Soldier's Medal. He participated in fire rescue, and his story was Army. I'm gonna get it right. Army.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, in the Army. So shout out to him and his family for his service and dedication and his exemplary efforts. All right.
Wow.
Yeah, so much good, right?
So much good.
Roger.
Okay, top that, huh? I have one thing and one thing only, and that's to recognize this Board of Education. You have many things around here from many buildings, kids, staff, administrators who appreciate you, appreciate the support that you give them. And so, I know you enjoy these things, but I also know they really enjoy giving them to you because they really appreciate you and everything that you do for Grandville Public Schools. These past few years have been very, very difficult. I mean, I'm not a young guy, but this is my 32nd, almost 33rd year in education. And I can tell you there, the adaptability we've had to show, the flexibility we've had to show, the planning alone, is taken a great deal of time. But I just want to say that you are truly a blessing to this community. I thank each and every one of you for being on this board, and I could not ask for a better group to work with. So thank you and happy Fourth Appreciation Month.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roger.
All right. No old business. Moving to consent action agenda. Do you have a motion to approve the agenda? Support.
That's Kim.
We have a video. Sorry, I didn't know this. I checked that.
Thank you, school board members. On behalf of the AV program, thank you for advocating for us and providing resources that we need to continue all of the work that we do.
Thank you for supporting all the athletic programs.
This is Adam Langto, principal at Grandville High School, and on behalf of myself and all the staff and students here at Grandville High School, I just wanted to wish all of you on the school board a happy School Board Appreciation Day, week, month, year. As we know, these last couple of years have been challenging for all of us here at Grandville Public Schools, but at the same time, we want to thank you all for helping give us the tools and resources that we need to make sure that our students get a great education and our staff has the supports that they need. As a father of 2 Bulldogs here in the district myself, I also want to personally thank you guys for doing what you can to make sure my kids get a quality education. I know all of us here in the Grandville community are thankful for what is happening with all the great, wonderful things here at Grandville Public Schools, and we owe you all for some of that. So please make sure that you guys know how much we appreciate you. Thank you. I've known some of you guys for quite a while, and I just appreciate the partnership that we've been able to have these last few years. Thanks, and have a good day. Happy Appreciation, and go Bulldogs.
Thank you for hiring staff to keep our school clean.
Thank you for always being there for the students.
School board, thank you for the extra time and effort that you've put into this school year and the past couple of school years to support your teachers and your students. Thanks again.
Thank you for funding the volleyball team and buying us new nets.
such a great program there. All right. Glad I didn't jump over that. That was great. No old business. Now to consent action agenda. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Excellent. And now on to regular action items. Our first recommendation, wait a minute, wrong page. I wasn't moving with it. I was too caught up in the beads, right?
With some
While I'm
base.
flipping pages, I will also say, this past month, my family's been touched by quarantined kids and isolated kids and all that fun stuff. And the high school staff has been phenomenal. I have a special needs student and they called 7 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night. What can I do to help? What document can we put together? I'm just amazed at the things that we do. So again, all the appreciation to them. All right. Got the right one. It is recommended the Board of Education approve the attached authorizing resolution, which allows the district to complete the issuance of the 2020 school building and site bonds, Series 2, pursuant to the ballot proposition approved by the qualified electors of Grandville Public Schools on November 5th, 2019.
So moved. Support.
Thank you.
So you may have looked at this and read through it and then like me, read through it again. And
Like 3 times.
and hope that you knew everything there was to know about this, but I know for a fact Heather can summarize it. So Heather, could you give us a little summary of this resolution and the site bonds?
So this is a series 2. Not to exceed $32,660,000. We will plan to sell this like we did the last one, which is a negotiated sale. I do have a list of series 1 bonds that we issued was just under 42 million. And projects that were 60% completed are air conditioning for all elementaries, the high school and fire alarm upgrades. Phases 1 through 3 of the remodel of the Pbis. And then we have phase 4 of remodel of the Pbis, which has an estimated completion date of August 2022. And the new 7-8 building with an estimated completion date of August 2023. So series 2, the majority of the funding for series 2 will go finish up the 7-8 building, and then it will also start the remodel of the current middle school into the 5-6 building. So just as a reminder too, what we do is when we approve the resolution, then we will sell the bonds, which in turn gives us the cash that we invest to complete the projects.
You're waiting. Thank you. So is this the final sale?
No, this is series 2, so there's one more series left, series 3, which we'll bring to you for approval in 2024. That final series is for the transportation and maintenance area, interior door security upgrades in elementaries. A portion of that will be vetted out for series 2 as well.
And this is when we originally planned to execute this?
Yes, it is.
And then with the market today, where the Fed is and inflation, are bonds more attractive at this time?
Well, interest rates are low, which is good for when you sell bonds.
And I understand that.
But from an investment side, probably not as good as series 1 as the market was when we sold series 1.
Do we anticipate getting this amount of money?
Yes.
Okay. So the market's still hot for it, it's just not optimal.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions? All right, let's do a roll call.
Coleman. Yes. No.
Yep.
Jahan,
Yes.
Jardine,
Yes.
Wonderjum,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Buck. Yes.
My
Did you
lord.
say
Did
he
you
did?
say that?
How about yes?
Awesome.
I do believe that President Klein gets called last to break a tie if there.
That's
is
just
one.
how the sheet's set up right now.
Oh, gotcha.
It hasn't
Okay.
changed.
All right.
Thank you.
Good call. Thank you. All right. Recommendation is carried. Next recommendation. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the attached resolution, which allows the district to proceed with refinancing outstanding debt provided favorable market conditions are present. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Maybe I'll turn things over to Heather.
Popular tonight.
So this is not something that we have done often in Grandville. Essentially what this is it's like a refinance of your home mortgage, okay? So the resolution you just approved, right, is the capital project fund. That's where those dollars go. And then what happens is we have a debt fund that we levy, the millage that's levied, right, from the taxpayers comes into us and helps us pay off those bonds. So from that perspective, what we're looking to do is essentially refinance the Series 1 of 2013. You might recall that the bond that was passed in 2013, those funds were also issued in 3 series. So we're only looking at 23 or 2013 right now. We're looking at upwards of 8%, maybe a little more in the current market conditions. And so what that does is it saves the taxpayers money. And it allows us to pay things off a little bit faster. The last time this was done, I was talking with Amy. I'm not even sure I was here. But I know it was done prior to going out for the 2013 bond, and it was a way to maintain our current millage and not add any to get those additional funds.
Are there any penalties that go along with the refinance or like you have to pay something or to do that? Yeah, or something like that.
Well, so there's 2 different types that we're, the resolution speaks to. There's a refunding, which because you can no longer do an advanced refunding as tax exempt. So there's a requirement to put those funds into escrow. So there's a little, just a different way of doing things. There may be a small fee that the district pays, but we would get reimbursed for that to do so. The other alternate that is listed in that resolution has to do with, it's a forward delivery. So if the market is right and you have the buyers, you can enter into basically an agreement, but you don't call them until they're due in 2023.
So the one thing that caught my eye, I'm gonna try to, we did this a long time ago, probably one at a time, so my memory's foggy. When you're saying in the explanation here that the bonds will either be a taxable advance, does that mean they're now taxable?
They're currently tax exempt,
Correct.
but
But when we refinance, are they taxable?
yes, if the market, depending on, so Stiefel will look at the advanced refunding, which if that was the best way to go, those bonds would then be taxable, yes, and they have to be held in an escrow. That currently, based on the estimates I have from them, going that way, you don't have as much savings as you do going with the forward delivery method.
So, Heather, guesstimate, right? I'm gonna give you a guesstimate. I'm not gonna hold you to the penny on this one. What are we saving doing this? What is the district saving refinance?
The estimated savings,
It's in,
yeah, there's a dollar amount. So.
it's like you start reading it and then
I know.
the legalese kind of takes over.
Crazy.
And then I go, well, I'll just wait and ask. her."
I know, that's.
Exactly.
And I just said I'll wait for Bob to ask Heather and then we'll know.
Ooh, that's amazing.
$1 million?
1.1 million.
Just a little over 1.1 million.
And you said that goes back to the taxpayers
Right.
in.
Yeah, so that ultimately is savings to them because the sooner we pay off debt, right?
Yeah.
The
It's better
sooner
to
that,
drops off.
that debt levy can be low.
There's really no risk in this either.
There's really no risk in it. There's, I guess the risk in a forward delivery could be there's a leading time period. I think I sent you guys a presentation.
So I had a thought. Which stuff you were talking about. It would be
Talk to
great
Heather.
at a future board meeting to have a very quick 10 minutes. We only need 10. We talk about money. We only need 10. Summary of where we are, along with a lot of our neighboring districts, versus the fact that we don't use the bond fund.
It's a great segue. It's the one comment that I had written down that I didn't show. And I would definitely come back.
I would
and bring
love you
a
to do
graph.
that.
Uh-huh.
I would love you to do that.
I would like you
because
to.
I think very good people do not understand.
Out of Kent and Ottawa County, we rate fifth and sixth.
Right.
So
Wow.
Most do not understand
lowest.
how
Mhm. Yeah.
well, how good stewards we are related to this.
Yep.
And I think 10 minutes is all we need to do a quick comparison, and also the pluses and minuses of what's happening with that fund, that stay low, and why we don't have to be part of that health chart.
Oh, that's, yeah.
Just, yeah, it'd be great for board members to see that.
Heather, I know you did, and Roger did a presentation to our community around the budget. Was that something that you talked about as part of, or was it not, is that maybe too?
We didn't really talk about that at that meeting. That was mainly just federal funding.
Oh, okay.
But I'll be
Okay.
bringing, as part of the budget amendment that I'll be bringing to you end of February, early March. I can speak to that more.
Okay.
Any questions?
Nice job.
That's always.
Always Heather, yes.
All right, so
She's amazing.
all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed? All right, that carries us all. Moving on to discussion and reports. Just one thing for you.
Sure. Yes, reconciled public health order. Just want to talk a little bit about that. A letter went home to parents last week regarding this. As you know, the CDC and MDHHS did some realignment, some changes with quarantines and so on. And the Kent County and Ottawa County health departments decided to reconcile their public health order to align with those. So they pretty much align. There are a few things that they've thrown in. They're a little different. I would say that information is there, and we sent it in that letter along with a link of the actual health order. We have some changes there, but I don't see anything significant. I mean, to be honest with you, the key thing we're focusing on right now is keeping our kids in school, and doing everything we can with our parents and our staff to do that. This variant is very different. And I think there are a lot of people out there, my opinion, that want to do the same things that we've always done. And there are things we've done that have helped and still help, but there are also, we're in a different time with a different variant. And it is very important that as we go through this, we're continuing to contact, trace, and keep our data. We are not so intertwined with the health department on things that we were doing before, but we are keeping our data, checking our data, working with parents. The single most important thing parents can do is when your kid's not feeling well, keep them home, period. That we found is very, helpful with this, but it's very different. And the things that people have talked about that work in the past don't necessarily work now, don't necessarily, have the same output that people believe other things did. So we just wanted to clarify a little bit that this health order did take place to align. And we wanted to just talk about our current reality. It's a challenge. Our staff's working very, very hard to keep us in school. And we're going to continue to do that. And John, do you have anything you want to add?
No, the one thing that is different, daycare and preschool are treated slightly different than K-12 schools. With that in the K-12 letter, but daycare and preschool, for household contacts, it's different. It requires a 10-day isolation and quarantine plus another 5. So with the school setting, with the household contact, we can bring students back within 10 days. The daycare and preschool, it's 15. So that one is just a little bit quicker as it relates to what the health department is providing for us. We're still waiting for them. They'll always give us like a toolkit. We're rewriting that toolkit. I expect that we'll get greater guidance when that occurs, but unless something drastic changes in their order, I don't see it changing anything as it relates to our response to the order. So.
Is that what it's always been, John, throughout this pandemic, the
No,
15?
up until that order happened, if you were a household contact, you would have to be home upwards of 20 days. So there was a 10-day
Okay.
isolation for a positive case. And then an additional 10 days of quarantine. Yeah. And again, it was related to, we're seeing it around 48 to 72 hours. So that's smaller and they've got better evidence about when people are contagious. And so it allowed for a reduction in to 5 days for those other pieces. So
thank you.
Do we see any plateauing at all of the numbers? I know like
not in our district, we don't.
In the middle school, I mean, my son was missing 3 teachers at one time, right?
It's really hard right now in terms of staffing and numbers of students and the number of total cases that have been reported to me. I still ask our staff to report them, so I can keep track of them, so our community knows what those are, so that we can keep track of those at a district level to make any determinations we might need to make. It's not good right now.
Can you give us a generalization of the substitute situation across the district right now?
Also not great. I mean, to be honest, we have subs that have worked for us throughout the course of this year that have stepped away at the moment because of the health rate. So we are using other staff supplements for them to ask them to help support in those classrooms. So just teachers today, we had 80 teachers out today total. That's just teachers. It's not support staff that were also out. So when you begin to think about adults supporting inside of our buildings, they're working so hard to keep our kids in school, continue to educate them, and in the midst of all of that, doing their very best to teach the kids that are in the building, but also the kids that might be home because they are sick or because they are exposed and they're cold, have something, and they're staying home because they're not sure if it's COVID. Our staff are working so hard to fill all those gaps. So 80 staff absent today. We had 5 of them that were quote unquote unfilled.
Okay.
So we used a lot of our support staff today to fill in classrooms.
And that is pretty much the norm
Okay.
around
Yep.
the state, around our area. You know, there are districts that have had buildings shut down. Belding Friday had the entire district shut down. You're really looking at I mean, you know, if you can't staff a building, or you can't, you know, or your attendance rate falls below 75% as an example, you're really you're in a tough spot. And there are people, I know Grand Rapids has had several schools that have been down. I know Godfrey Lee has had below 75% attendance. You know, there are a variety of places. And like I said, with the thought process from before, you know, I will, and I'm going to be very honest, I'll get emails like, well, it's because you don't have mask on. But the districts I just mentioned, they have mandated masks. Beyond that, this variant is very different. And the part that doesn't get told is if a mask, as an example, is something that was going to work in this situation or help mitigate in this situation, it really has to be a comprehensive situation. I mean, you can't just do school and then go home and then everything else is as it is right now. And so, you know, you really have to look at that situation as well. But, you know, again, this is a very different variant. I met with superintendents Friday and you know, we're all very concerned. We think this is the time where it's, you know, the next couple weeks we're thinking are probably where it's at its worst. And we're trying to get through and keep our kids in school and maintain the health and safety of people to the best of our ability. So we just wanted to update you, let you know where we're at, be transparent and honest with it. We're all working very hard. And I commend our staff, as John had mentioned, and I had mentioned earlier, and I commend our parents, because I know our parents, you know, have really been cooperating and working very hard with us in this endeavor.
So do you have a level that you would say we have to shut down? All right,
Yeah.
is there that kind of
yeah, I mean,
point that
you know, if you can't staff your programs and the things you need to do for kids, that's a major, I mean, obviously that's the biggie right there. You know, other than that, we're working very hard again to stay in school. We don't want to see, you know, a kid out with a positive case or what have you. But remember, all these aren't happening at school. It's a community issue. And, you know, with the spread. So it's something that, you know, we know what happens when kids aren't in school. That's not good. So we're doing everything we can to keep them in school. But at the same time, it is a huge challenge, and we're being very creative to make sure we can do what we need to do for our kids.
You don't think we're compromising on any of our education, do you? Or, I mean, I don't know, we're not having like you wouldn't have me teaching math, right?
If it's you or nobody.
Okay, it might be, okay.
Maybe would, but I think, you know, when our staff's out, you know, our staff cares so much about our kids, and whether our staff's out or our kids are out, they're ensuring they can do everything to give our kids what they need during that time.
When they're gone.
So that's a focus. Yeah, either way. You know, they're doing that to the best of their ability. So, but it's a very unusual circumstance. And yeah, as you mentioned earlier with you know, the high school situation, they are rallying and doing a phenomenal job. But it's not easy.
Well, I know that Ann and Kim jumped in to teach. Ann
Yes.
Halding and Kim.
Yep.
So,
And I mean, even at the high school, for example, I had teachers who were out sick, still contacting me to help support my,
That's what you're
you know,
saying.
like, they're there and supporting, like, but they're also sick themselves and helping support. So kudos to them.
Hey, Rod, I have a question.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on, the recommendation from the CDC today about high school sports?
Yeah. I don't know.
What was that, Bob?
I don't have all the details.
They're recommending,
but
schools not do it. Basically, anything high contact, they want them to do virtually. So I'm trying to figure out how you would wrestle
Virtual
virtually,
football game.
but
Okay.
yes, that was part of their recommendation today.
That-
Again, a recommendation.
Yeah, that would be between our OK conference, and I have a meeting tomorrow. I sit on that committee, the OK conference committee, and the MHSAA. So I don't know where that will go.
Bob, was that just today?
Yep.
That was just today.
Yeah. John, what can our community do to help in terms of subbing? What's the shout out you want to give for how people can sign up and be present if they want to?
Yeah, in terms of the immediate help,
Mhm.
I don't have a great solution.
Okay.
Because it's got to go through staff piece.
Okay.
So if they're not a current employee, as a current employee, and that law was recently passed by the
Right.
that provided greater flexibility for schools to use employees to support classrooms because of this. But otherwise, it's probably at least a 10 to 14-day process to get through the EduStaff hiring process as we go. But I can guarantee if somebody wants to substitute teach, they can work every day of the week.
Mhm.
In Grandville or anywhere else, because my neighbors, they're in the same boat. I was talking with my cohorts and we were short 10 teachers. While we were short 20, Grand Rapids Public was short 120. So, it's just the lack of people that are willing to come in and do the work. And I understand why. It's not a mark against people, but
Right.
it's hard.
Mhm.
It's hard to get filled.
So for those willing to go through that 10 to 14-day process, contact your office to get started.
You can just contact me
Awesome.
and I'll help work through the EduStaff piece, and we can expedite a lot of things for folks that are motivated. It's just a matter of connecting with EduStaff, and once there are bits and pieces of that completed, they'll do. They used to do a training once every 2 or 3 weeks. Now they're doing them virtually every 2 or 3 days.
Okay.
On board.
Gotcha.
And go through that process. So.
We talked a lot about teachers being out. What's the number on students today?
It's also like I share attendance records with Roger on a daily basis, so I pull the 75% attendance report. And district-wide, we've been anywhere between 82 and 87%. There have been a couple of buildings that have dropped lower, typically our smaller buildings, like a central or an east, where there's a bunch of kids out, then it impacts it much more quickly. Schools like the high school, based on the volume, end up having a little bit higher attendance rate, for closer to 89 to 91%. But district-wide, that's where it's been.
Okay.
It's hard to pull reports until like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night after everything kind of gets tallied and pulled together in college school for an individual day. So I won't have it for today.
Sure.
But today today be an exception?
Right, it has
Because,
to
okay. So you're gonna get.
And that was one of the wonderings, if you look at it, is it because of sickness, illness, is it because people look at this and like, hey, it's a half day, we'll take a longer weekend. Several folks did that as well. But critical thing is making sure we're at that 75% or above. So if we were at 82%, 84% late last week, we have enough kids gone today that would put us below that 75%. My guess is no. But
If we get below 75% in an individual building, do we consider just that building have a closure? Is there any?
We talk about it, but there's a lot that goes into that. And part of that is why our people gone, and getting clarity to that. But, you know, staff, when you have a multitude of staff gone, that's the thing that will close a building the quickest, because if you can't function for your kids,
Gotta be safe.
you know, you can't do it. But we've been very fortunate. People have been very flexible. As you heard, you know, it's been a problem for us, but and I hate to compare ourselves to our neighbors around us, but, you know, some of them have had even harder problems than we have. So it is a challenge.
All right. Any more questions?
Just certainly tell them thank you for everything you're doing, right? It's not easy, like you said, so.
All right, and that was just a public comment. We have our papers up here. I'm just going to read the public comment section of our board agenda. The Board of Education recognizes and values the public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on district matters. To permit fair and orderly public expression, the board shall provide a period for public participation at public meetings of the board and publish rules to govern such participation in board meetings and in the board committee meetings. Those rules are on the back of your form that you filled out. The rules should be administered and enforced by the presiding officer of the meeting, and the presiding officer shall be guided by the rules per bylaw 0167.3, which are also listed back here. That includes 5 minutes per person up here. Pbis is going to keep track of time, give you a 1 minute warning. And please, as we discussed during our last meeting, if you were here, let's be respectful of all views and opinions here. The individuals speaking at the podium are speaking to the board, not to the crowd, and we would like to hear them and recognize what they have to share. First person up, Carol Bronson, followed by Amy Campbell. When you arrive to the podium, please state your name, your address, or affiliation with the district, and share your comments.
I'm Carol Bronson. I'm a citizen of Grandville. I have children that graduated from Grandville. First of all, I don't know if you were aware that these were in our seats tonight. And I'm not exactly sure what the reason is why these were put in our seats, except that I can only think that it was to stir the pot for some reason. So I just wanted to make that comment. And now my comments I'm going to read because I get very nervous when I'm talking in front of a group. I'm very concerned about the spread of the Omicron variant. Last year, when COVID started, everything was shut down. We didn't have vaccines. I didn't know anyone with the virus. Now, with another variant, like our third variant, that is even more contagious than the others, I know many people who have it. We have vaccines, yes, and they may protect us from serious illness, but with more spread, there's more chance of more variants that may be more serious. The CDC has let us down. The governor, MDHHS, state legislature, and health department have abandoned us. In fact, in the news today, the legislature just decided to cancel votes this week because of illness. Too many people in the legislature are ill. We're at 873,768 dead from COVID. Our hospitals are overwhelmed. When they say there's no beds, it's not just the space for patients, it's also staffing. Our schools are understaffed because of illness. And I think our school district has basically let us down, especially now with the extreme uptick in cases, by not requiring masks in the schools. I know masks aren't everything, but even what they can do in school is protect the students while they're there. And then I also would like to know what the district is trying to do to encourage vaccines for our students, because 5 through anybody over the age of 5 is eligible to get vaccines. If we want to do everything we can, as Mr. Barrett said earlier, these are things that we should consider. I really don't understand why the mask mandate can't be extended for a few weeks until the cases decline. I understand that everyone wants kids in school, but as was mentioned earlier, if enough students and teachers are sick, the schools will close. Please consider reinstating mask mandates until at least the end of January, and consider some way to encourage vaccines. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Amy Campbell is up, followed by Brenda Bardenfest.
Hi, my name is Dr. Amy Campbell. I have 3 children in the district at Cummins. I am here to talk a little bit about masks, mainly because I know that you're not going to change the policy, but I want you to understand how this has impacted my family. My daughter last year contracted COVID from school. She was the only kid in her class who got it from being in close contact. I totally accept that. That's not your fault. Masks are not perfect. They're not going to prevent every case. But she was the only other kid in her class. The girl sat right next to her. My daughter was extremely ill. It is not a cold for everyone. It's not a virus for everyone. She was extremely ill for 15 days. I then, everyone else got it in my family. We were okay. But my son was out of school for 20 days because of the fact that we had to isolate the household contacts. We have done our part. We are careful. Right now, I'm in a situation where we went back. My kid said, you know what? I'm going to wear a mask because I just don't want anyone else to get COVID. It's no big deal to me. My 3rd grader was made fun of by boys in her class. She was called a sheep. Where do you think kids get that language from? I mean, why would you say that to a child? And now my son's young class is closed down because they have a major outbreak in their classroom that spread to the teacher. And I think currently the count is 4 or 5 kids. Masks are not going to prevent everything. I know that. It's a layered approach. Right now, we're just sort of letting it go, which is fine. Maybe kids won't get, that many kids won't get that sick. But now I am having to figure out what to do, to keep my son home for 5 days. I had to move all of my courses at Grand Valley that I teach online for the last 6 weeks of the semester because I had to stay home with my kids. So this impact, right? It's not just, oh, we get a cold and it's fine, right? This has impacted me greatly, and I get it. Like, it's not going to solve everything, but right now, what I feel like is the district said, we're going to make masks optional because there's a group of parents that keep coming to the board meetings and they're angry. And we're going to stick to that no matter what local pediatricians recommend, no matter what our children's hospital has recommended. And I get it. It's just, I think for parents who are now sitting here, it's extraordinarily frustrating to think that I now have to just let my kids go into these classrooms and hope they don't get it again. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But our staff are stressed, and I think we can do better. it just seems to me that we've just given up. And I think we can do better as a board. I think we can do better as a district. And I'm just asking that you really think about it because it has a major impact on families. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Brendan Bargercloth, followed by Alan Traxler.
Nine months, 14 meetings, 13 comments. I knew there wasn't a snowball's chance in hell, but sure would have been nice if the nearly only member to have asked an intelligent question in the previous 8 months would have been the president. It also would have been nice if the person that ran for president and was subsequently elected might have researched the Open Meetings Act so she wouldn't break the law 10 minutes into her first meeting. I've learned that much just attending the meetings and I'm not even a board member. What else have I learned in the last 9 months? I've learned that most of you know how to say aye or present when requested, but that's about it. I find it extremely troubling that the new president says she wears a mask to the school board meetings out of respect for her fellow board members. Apparently she doesn't respect those that work with her in the concession stand when she doesn't wear a mask. And also I've lost count how many times you've touched your loose fitting mask. Might as well not wear it. I also think, Madam President, that if you're going to wear the thing while you're leading the meetings, you need to speak up. Those of you in the audience took time out of our day to be here. The least you could do is make sure we can hear you when you threaten us. I have learned that your arrogance and hypocrisy have no bounds. By refusing to answer questions asked by a parent so that voters can understand your point of view, you have actually answered them, as well as shown the voters that you don't understand the concept of an elected office. You're responsible for the care of our children, and you don't think we as parents have a right to know where you stand on important issues. Disgusting. I will never make an uninformed board vote decision again. I can guarantee you that. Super. You know what else is disgusting? The Michigan Democratic Party. See handout number 1. Parents can send their kids to private school if they want input. Public is customer, not parents. That's the reason you have the handout. I really don't care to have a secular, immoral society decide what my child learns at school. Thank you very much. Then they took that post down and put this one up. See comment number 2 on your handout. I didn't have time to read in the time allowed. Parents need to have a say in their children's education. End of story. Sorry, folks, you showed your true colors, not buying the quasi apology. This sort of reminds me of a board member trying to walk back a statement. Madam President was speaking to a parent after a meeting last fall before she was president and told the parent that she feels Grandville has a white supremacy problem. The parent asked, how do you define white supremacy? She replied, 2 white parents in the home. Can you say jaw drop? She has since tried to walk back these comments, but like the Michigan Democrats, she has revealed her true colors. How is my child to get a fair shake when it is assumed she and her parents are racist based on the color of their skin? Isn't that the very definition of racism? Personally, I feel Kim Klein should resign from the school board immediately. At a minimum, she should no longer be president. I got an email from the high school telling me that they won't notify me if my child is contact traced anymore. That tells me parents aren't keeping their kids home when they're contact traced. Correct me if I'm wrong. And my own personal observation, school events only show about 10% mask wearing percentage. Clearly, parents don't see it as a risk. The CDC released new requirements today recommending canceling band, choir, and football. I really hope the Kent County Health Department and GPS do not mandate mandatory testing to play. We did it last year because we didn't know better. This year, excuse me, we do. I do not want my daughter to play as she has to be tested. However, it is her senior year. The water polo team went 3rd in the state last year, and they're going for the whole shebang this year. Also, these policies are total BS, not giving any credit to those with natural immunity beyond 90 days. At the beginning of all this, scientists were sure that the jab would give you immunity longer than the virus, and yet a year later, the opposite is true, and you've not only had 1 jab, you've had 4 or 5. I'm hearing about our double jab and boosted mask wearing teachers. Even our own red mask wearing teachers union president came down with COVID. I have to assume that Madam President's family is fully vaxxed. Haven't you got COVID recently at your house as well? I think you may have even shared it with a couple of other households. As a critically thinking parent, you know what this tells me? Neither of these things work. The masks don't work, vaccine doesn't work. If
1 minute.
Science was wrong about how good the protection was and how long the protection will last. I think it's fair to question the potential long-term side effects as well. As one of the manufacturers wanted to reveal what's in the jab in the studies, over 500 pages a month for over 75 years. If they're unwilling to share, how am I supposed to give informed consent? Luckily, a judge is mandating it be revealed over 8 months. I have a feeling I will continue to refuse. Let's be real. We all know that both vaccinated and unvaccinated can get and spread COVID. To treat them differently is discrimination. Just because the CDC says the recommendation doesn't make it right. I challenge GPS to think critically and to see the truth. These policies defy logic and modify them to be fair and to use one of your own terms, equitable to all students. Thank you.
Next up, Alan Traxler, followed by Walter Skovanak. I'm sorry if I said that incorrectly. Please correct me when you come up.
Address on the form. I have 2 children at South Elementary. Let's roll a dice. This is all a numbers game. I'm vaccinated, I wear a mask. My kids are vaccinated and wear a mask. But these are risk reduction methods. They are not 100% effective because we live in the real world where almost nothing is 100% guaranteed. My daughter was exposed, my youngest, on Monday, and we found out about it on Friday while she was already in school. It's too late to pull her out. We found out today, Monday, half day, that she had another exposure on Friday. She wears a mask, but we're going to keep her home as a precaution. This is not a requirement, but we're going to try and play it safe. I, for one, would be far more at ease if I knew that whoever had COVID in the classroom was wearing a mask, because the mask keeps the mouth particles, your saliva, your spit, when you sneeze, you cough, everything in your facial region, it keeps it from being sprayed out. Don't try to blow a candle out while wearing a mask. It's hard to. It helps limit the spread. Remember, it helps limit. My mask is going to protect you. It's not the other way around. This mask doesn't afford me very much protection. But if I'm sick, it should help you from catching it. So now, because of the decision to make these masks optional, I'm having to keep my daughter home, keep her occupied. It causes some difficulties in the home, and now we're rolling the dice. Is this going to be a breakthrough case? We don't know yet. Is she going to show symptoms? We don't know yet. I've done and am doing what I can to limit this spread, but what I need is for you to do what you can do. Dr. Barrett, I'm asking you to please reinstate the mask mandate. It's simple, it's easy, and is this a community issue? Yes, I agree with you. It is a community issue. But while wearing a mask in school, you can help limit the spread within the school building. And for those of us who are cutting our social activities and being safe outside the school, that'd be a great benefit to us. It'd be a great safety measure. So I'm asking you personally, just please put a mask. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Up next, Walter Skovanak, followed by Janine Jansen.
My name is Walt Skavanak, and I've lived in the district for a long time. I have 3 children who are adults now, and taught at Catholic high schools. I was an assistant principal at Godwin Heights Middle School for 26 years, and I have a difficult time hearing, so a lot of stuff I missed, but I came to the last meeting, and I came late, and I heard a couple of the people talk from the audience. And I was a bit bothered because, well, one was talking about communism and the other was talking about freedom. And never along the line did I hear anything about responsibilities that come. Didn't hear that at all. And then when people were talking about, I remember all the administrative meetings I went to, the teacher meetings I went to, where the school's priority, number one priority, or at least the top one, was the safety and producing a learning environment for the kids. And I always thought that that learning environment and safety environment included teachers, aides, parents, grandparents, and the whole community. And in this situation of COVID, we do have a tool to fight the war. We do have a tool. We have vaccinations. And I'm surprised, maybe I shouldn't say I'm surprised, I'm disappointed that we know that they work. That they have people who get COVID have less severe reactions and are in hospitals less of the time and less likely to die. Yet we don't seem to be pushing that as a community. We're talking about other kinds of things. And I personally, I listen to everybody. At least I try to listen to them as much as my hearing allows. I listen to Fauci. I listen to Trump. I listen to the CDC. I listen to my family doctor. And I listen to my daughter. My daughter is a nurse practitioner at Ellen Boss Hospital. Works in pediatrics. She works at Children's Hospital for many years, University of Michigan for many years. And I asked her, what's happening at the hospital? What are they recommending? And she tells me, well, when you were an administrator, you didn't know much about medical things either then. And she said, look it up, see what people are saying. And I said, well, what resource would you give me? And she said, I would look at the American Academy of Pediatrics. She said, that's the gold standard.
1 minute.
To see what they would say. I said, okay. So I do that. And I look at that. And I expect that the board in our community does the same kind of things. We look which are the effective things that can help our children. Not only help our children, but help our teachers and the people who are in our health professions. Because we are losing both of them. And the unvaccinated are using up those resources. And there's no question about that. So if we're not doing stuff to be vaccinated, and we're not doing the other kinds of things that might be helpful, maybe my neighbor who passed away from COVID, never been sick,
Time.
and other people will not have to suffer so much.
Thank you, Walter. Next up, Janine Jantna, followed by Michelle Teets.
My name is Janine Jantna, and my address is on file. So, for far too long, too many have looked away from the reality that is transpiring before our very eyes. Ignorance is not bliss, and in fact, it can be deadly. The media has done a grave disservice all over the world in their attempt to keep the masses ignorant. Yet there are those who have not succumbed to the propaganda and the shameless gaslighting of the media's talking heads. We have researched extensively, searched our souls ruthlessly, and seen conclusively that humanity is at a critical crossroads. We as a collective are at the precipice and are choosing to turn to the light or to default to the dark. Truth is always found in the light. Lies hide in darkness and secrecy and deception. The frantic antics of those who have tried to keep alive the narrative that have caused so much harm are being exposed. It's not a pretty picture. It's not pleasant to have to acknowledge that one has been duped, but it is absolutely essential that we do so. I'd like to ask a few questions of the board members to ponder, and to answer in your own hearts and minds. Do you know that hospitals across the country are refusing access to life-saving medicines for their patients, remedies that have been proven to be effective treatments? Do you know that it is the vaxxed population that are most susceptible to the variants because the jab itself is causing autoimmune deficiency, and the more jabs one receives, the more compromised their system becomes? Do you know that the PCR tests used to detect COVID have been proven ineffective and were manipulated in order to register more positive cases? Do you know that tens of thousands of doctors worldwide have been stripped of their medical licenses and denied their right to practice because they dared to speak up against the narrative? The narrative, by the way, that is responsible for the growing number of deaths across the world. Do you know that those who speak the truth, those who challenge the communist agenda, are losing their broadcasting abilities? One example is OAN. DirecTV has banned them from their platform. Do you know how chilling that is? That is chilling. To have your platform cut off because you're saying a different opinion. This is serious, you guys. Do you know the brave and outspoken are having their bank accounts closed on them? It's really going on. Do you know that shadow banning and censoring are rampant on the social media sites of those who share truth? And I ask you, where does it stop? What about our children? What about the children that you were elected to watch over and serve? At what point will you realize that basic human rights of everyone are being trampled? This is about so much more than meets the eye. The time of sitting on the sidelines has long passed. It's time to stand up and it's time to speak out. Today, we honor Martin Luther King, and I'd like to share one of his brilliant quotes. He said, "Never, never be afraid to do what's right, especially if the well-being of a person or animal is at stake. Society's punishments are small compared to the ones we inflict upon our soul when we look the other way." End quote. God is calling. May we never have to bear the pain of knowing we refuse to answer. God bless our children. God bless America. God bless our world. And God bless and bestow within each and every soul the spirit of fearlessness for the love of God and humanity.
Thank you, Janine. Michelle, followed by Randy. Bauman.
Michelle, I live in the district. I have 2 children. I want to talk tonight about the dire situation with our teachers and staff. They have been pushed and pulled in ways that we've never dreamed possible over the last 2 years. When they were at the breaking point this fall, you decided to push them even more. In order to support the Biden mandates that were still pending litigation, you decided to do what was best and easiest for the administrative team, with no thought to how this could affect the staff. After they have done all that they had to do, you put the interest of, with no thought to this, how this would affect the staff. After all they have done, you didn't put their best interests first, but instead sided with ease of logistics. So you put undue stress and anxiety on many of our community's greatest resources. Many tears were shed and hours spent preparing for what their next move might be if they decided to take a personal choice and not vaccinate. I have texts from staff that were planning to call in sick on that December day because they didn't want to have a target put on them by having to wear a mask while others wouldn't have to do so. Some teachers have since retired, and many subs, like myself, have walked away. You have created 2 groups of people now, those that are too afraid of this virus to set foot in a classroom, or people like myself who are no longer going to toe the line to these baseless rules and have walked away from subbing. I strongly recommend that you come up with some things to start repairing the damage, to fix the toxic workplace culture that is happening, and to rebuild the mental health and relationships of those that you feel that you sold them out prematurely. Secondly, I'd like to address an email that went out from Mr. Mazurek to the GEA. There's a section that was titled, "In the meantime, here's what you can do." One of the things he says is you can encourage students and parents to follow the health department guidelines, which is fine. And then he said in capital letters, and you can strongly recommend to students that they wear masks and stay home if they are feeling sick. I feel that this is completely inappropriate, that masks and vaccines are currently medical decisions that are up to individual families. Teachers should not be discussing these opinions with kids or making medical recommendations to our students. I strongly urge you to continue to keep masks, vaccines, and testing as optional. The science has clearly shown, especially with this variant, that they do not work. I'm extremely disappointed in the new set of rules as they continue to drive division. We can all see that the vax does not stop the spread or the ability to contract the virus. As we can see from our staff outages, I'm sure the percentage of those teachers that are vaccinated and wear masks is quite high, and yet we still have high numbers out. If you want to state that it lessens the symptoms, that's fine, but it does not change transmission. So why the different set of rules for vaxxed and unvaxxed, other than to be divisive and attempt to coerce students and families into compliance? Enough, our children need to stop being used as pawns. I also want to talk about, quickly, if I still have time, the CDC latest recommendation that says to decrease the number of Omicron transmissions in schools, they recommending canceling all forms of exercise. Obesity is the % risk factor for COVID-19 deaths. So tell me how that even makes sense. And our children are at 0.002% death risk for this variant. Suicide, the numbers are significant, and we really need to think about what role fitness and sports and these extracurriculars play in our children's lives. They are so important. You look at high school students, they have scholarships, they have so much pressure riding on this, that if we take this away from them for a 0.002% likelihood, that really equates to a 0% death rate that they are at risk for. So I encourage you, Roger, as you have that meeting this week, please fight for our kids and those extracurriculars. They are so important.
Up next, Randy Bauman, followed by Kevin Weiss.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Thank you for service on board. I have a list of different topics I want to hit on. I wasn't going to say anything about the mask or the vaccines, but it seems how it's kind of relevant tonight. The masks don't do anything other than hinder someone's breathing. First, I was fine with it, when the whole thing first started. If we think it would help, great, but I think we're well beyond knowing that they're really not doing anything at this point. Vaccines, that's obviously up to the individual. If we ever get to a spot where that's required, God help us. I went to something that my daughter, again, asked me to bring up. She didn't directly ask me, but I talked to her and she said it was still an issue. I brought it up a while back. Bathrooms at high school, it's still an issue. I guess maybe not, I don't know about guys, but with the girls, there's lines. She doesn't have time to get to the bathroom because they just can't stand in line for half an hour trying to get to the bathroom. For some reason, I don't know all the details, but I'm obviously not there, but doors to some bathrooms are locked, some are not open. I don't know what the reasons are for that, but it's making it difficult to use the facilities, so they have to go during class, and teachers aren't, as keen on letting you do that. So something's got to be fixed there. I don't know if anything was looked into it last time. I know there were some issues with vandalism, but I think we need to do something about that. While we're on the topic of bathrooms, I was informed, I don't know, this is just what I was told, that we do have an elementary school, I think it's an elementary school where, and I'm assuming maybe it's happening elsewhere, where children of the opposite sex are being allowed to use other bathrooms, the other sex's bathroom. And so that just got my mind thinking, I guess I'm curious who makes that decision and what are the policies on that? And is there a notification that would go out to the parents of that school that would let them know what's going on? I think that's something that as a parent, I sure would want to know. At any level, elementary, middle school, high school, I would want to know that. So again, I'm just asking questions, and I'm here. I forgot to say my name right now. I can get you my information. I'd love follow-up feedback. I'd like to, I guess, get information on some of this stuff. And then while I'm up here, I'll just talk about some other things. I've been to a lot of meetings. I sit here and I just try to take in information, find out what's going on. One of the little words that keeps coming up a lot is equity. And I guess I have a problem with equity. I know, Roger, you did a big PowerPoint presentation on equity. I'm just a simple guy, but to me, it didn't make sense. And I don't think we have an issue with that. So again, this is kind of going back to that diversity, equity, inclusion fire. I don't see a need for that. I think you want to try to offer all the same opportunities to every kid. Yes, there are some kids that are going to need more help. But so I kind of thought of a couple of different examples. I frame homes. I'm not going to give a hammer to one of my workers and a nail gun to the other worker and then kind of expect same results. You're not going to get the same out of every kid, right? But I think every kid should have every opportunity to the tools that are in the bag. Okay, maybe I'm confusing you a little bit. But,
no, you're not.
That's a good.
You're defining equity is what you're doing.
Well, I understand that. But when the person is ready to grab the next tool,
1 minute.
Don't deny them that opportunity to move up the ladder, grab the next tool, and take that next step. Because you're trying to bring everybody to the same spot. Okay, that's where I have the problem. Let's help everybody, but let's make sure we're not taking away programs for the advanced students. Okay. And then just one other quick thing, and I know it's a tough judgment call, but the snow days, I think we really could be a little bit more aggressive with trying to have school. I know it's a tough call, but it just seems like, man, we're awfully quick to cancel, and it just seems like we're sending a message of when something gets difficult, maybe we just don't do it, type of thing. I know there's the fear of accidents, but I would think you're a lot less likely to be injured in an accident when there is snow because you're going slow.
Time.
Thank you, Randy. Next up, Kevin Weiss, followed by Adam Bush.
My name is Kevin Weiss, and I have 2 kids in the district. And I was asked this evening to read a statement from a friend of mine who is working with the Scouts tonight. These are her words, and I'm going to read verbatim. I'm truly sorry that I'm not able to be here tonight. I'm working with the Scouts trying to help them become trustworthy, courteous, and kind young adults. Speaking of trustworthy, courteous, and kind, Kim, I'd really like to address you tonight. It has come to our attention that while you sit in your sanctimonious ivory tower, pushing mask mandates in isolation of our kids, you decided that it was a good time to take off to Mexico and unknown to some of your board members. You wouldn't let your kids take pictures because you felt it would look bad if they got out, because you're on the board. You also sent one of your children to their dad's house, sick without testing them or letting their father know. Now their house has COVID and your husband's children have COVID. You tout all these mitigation strategies, but now you can see that regardless of what you do or don't do, it spreads. You hid your trip because it would look bad and hid the sickness from others who have now become infected. You say you wear a mask on the board to protect other board members, but you don't wear a mask when you work the concession stand. Do you see the hypocrisy here, or do I need to be, or are you too introverted to see? Your lack of trustworthiness and care for others is one of the reasons we are recalling you. You are not to be trusted with your own kids. How can you be trusted with ours? At this point, the only thing that will be accepted is your resignation. You have no business being up there trying to dictate what happens in our kids' lives. Please step down immediately before you are completely embarrassed by a recall. Because I guarantee you, I am doubling down on my efforts, and this will happen. I would be glad to throw my name in the hat and take your seat. Sincerely, Shannon Foss.
Next up, Adam Bush, followed by Julie Dahl.
Hello, board. My name is Adam Bush, and it's great to be back. I haven't been in one of these in a while. But I've stated before, if you recall, that I was going to focus my efforts going forward on exposing the corruption that we have in our school system. So here I am. They say that the truth always comes out. This pandemic, yes, I said pandemic, is unraveling by the day, as is the willing participation by many of our public school administrations, including this one. Believe what you want to believe about how unsafe and ineffective these vaccines are. Believe what you want to believe about how ineffective and ridiculous these masks are. Believe what you want to believe about the numerous false positives from all the needless testing. Believe about asymptomatic spread and the quarantining of healthy individuals. Everyone's got an opinion on all of that crap, and it's as clear as the masks on your faces what a few of you amazingly still believe. But one thing is for certain, it's not a matter of opinion, it is not a conspiracy theory. Grandville Public Schools, like many others in Kent County, are deliberately and actively perpetuating these senseless mitigation measures, not for the good of the kids, not for their health or safety, but for the good of the school budget, for the COVID relief funds. In short, they are doing it for the money. So let's talk about this ESSER money that we've been collecting. For those of you who don't know what I'm referring to, these are the federal COVID relief funds available to all public school districts. That is, they're available to all districts willing to comply with its requirements, as well as submitting their district plan every 6 months confirming this compliance. So what are these requirements, you ask? Well, we know things like masking, testing, quarantine, social distancing, constant reminders to get vaccinated, hosting vaccine clinics, things of that nature. Things often cleverly referred to as mitigation measures. No, in fact, these are requirements for ESSER fund recipients. Schools who want this money have to prove they are utilizing and enforcing these measures. Then superintendents, however, knew that parents were not going to willingly subject their kids to this garbage just to bring in a few dollars to the district. No problem. Kent County Health to the rescue. As we all know by now, the Kent superintendents met with Kent County Health back in August to push for that wonderful mask mandate. That provided the schools with something more official that people were willing to comply with. Mission accomplished, checks in the mail. So how much money are we talking about? To date, I believe about $7.6 million for Grandville. But people, this ESSER funding is scheduled to continue until 2026, 4 more years if we want it. Which means these mitigation measures are scheduled to continue until 2026, 4 more years if we want it. Do we really want that? Do you want that? I do not. By the way, Kent County Schools as a whole received $175 million in ESSER money for last school year alone. I expect an even larger amount for this school year, which again explains that shady collusion we had back in August. The expression money talks has never been more true. Parents, stop trying to reason with these people. They aren't being reasonable because they can't. They are fulfilling their contractual obligations to the federal government for the money that they've collected. To be clear though, Roger and his administration are really the ones who arrange for ESSER funding, not the board. Board members, if any of what I've just shared is news to you or you feel like you've been kept in the dark, you probably should talk to Roger or come talk to me. But if you don't take it upon yourself to learn and understand what is actually happening, if you just turn a blind eye and allow them to continue collecting this blood money, you are most certainly an accomplice to the biggest con job in world history. Folks, I understand the temptation for free money, and I love money as much as anyone. I do. But I'm not going to pimp out my children for it, not even for $7.6 million over 3 years. You, Roger, And you board members, by association, you are selling out our children. Stop. I don't want the money. I don't want whatever it is you're buying with this money. I honestly don't know how anyone with this here or anywhere else can sleep at night knowing they are personally responsible for what these kids have been going through. You can make it stop at Grandville, just stop. Roger, I welcome a response to this group tonight after comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Next up, Julie Dahl.
Good evening, my name is Julie Dahl. You guys have my address on file. I'm about to kind of be a little buzzkill on this kumbaya tonight. I totally love the appreciation for the board and all of that, but I'm sorry if the truth hurts your feelings. This is not about feelings. This is about facts. This is not about fear. It is about facts. It is about my kids. It is about their kids. It is about all of our kids. And if you're going to direct decisions made in fear, then you're in the wrong seat. And it has come to the attention of so many of us that a lot of these decisions are made based in fear. I love this new format because we have an opportunity to kind of respond to some of the comments you've made earlier, and also a couple of the comments already made tonight. One is, if you want to roll the dice and you want to go ahead and roll the dice with other people's safety, if you don't feel safe, stay home. If you don't feel safe, mask up, double vax, booster, all of it. That's fine. None of us are saying you can't do that. What we want is choice. We want choice. We want academics, not indoctrination. And we want people sitting in these seats who understand what's truly at stake, because so many of you don't. Back to your comments tonight. It's truly unbelievable that some of you guys are asking the questions you're asking, and we're at this point. I'm sure you're all lovely people outside of this, but when you're in this role, I'm going to call you up. Okay? So Barb, God bless you. But when you're asking what the quarantine is, I know it recently changed, but when you're asking what that is.
I know what it is.
But you didn't. You just asked.
Maybe you didn't know what it is.
No, you asked what it was.
I can't help myself.
You asked what it was. And when it's in preschool and those kids, that affects my kids, and you don't know what it is. Okay, and then you're making decisions.
I ask a lot of questions so that other people know what they are.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we do know what it is because it affects us every day.
Okay.
Okay. So when you're asking those questions, not okay.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Okay.
When you're asking questions like what happened today with the CDC, I worked all day. I knew what happened with the CDC recommendations about taking away sports. I know what's going on with that because it affects our kids. It is your job to know that, but you don't. And that is disturbing. This trip to Mexico came up. God bless you. I think it's great. Take a family trip. Take a trip, take an international trip. I would love to be able to do that. But I'm not promoting fear amongst the community. I'm not telling everybody to mask up. I'm not telling everybody to be scared and then going on an international trip. Just so you're clear, that's where that frustration is coming from. All right, so that's my opinion. It's no mistake that my kids, now I've pulled them from Cummings. I've pulled them and put them in a different school. 4 full-time students. You know how many letters I've gotten home about COVID? 3. The entire year, I've gotten 3 emails that people have actually tested in their class positive. Here's the information. Watch for symptoms. Do with this information what you would like. They are thriving in a school that's not scared, that is bold. All around the country, boards are standing up against this, and I'm asking you to do it. You're asking questions. When do schools shut down? When do we shut down? When do we stop testing healthy people? When do we go forward and just shut this down? It is at an endemic level. This is how pandemics happen. Well, not even a pandemic. This is how viruses happen. A lot of people come up here tonight and, okay, they may have had kids in Grandville. We have kids in Grandville. I want my kids to be in Grandville. I've had I was really tight with a lot of families at Cummings. They left. These parents were involved.
1 minute.
These parents did the PTO. They did playroom, the recess supervision. They did lunch supervision. They were involved. They turned around, walked away, collectively between us families, there was 12 kids. They want nothing to do with it. We unenrolled our kids, but it just gives me more resolve to fight because I don't think your zip code should dictate what kind of education you have. And I see my kids getting a different education at a private school, and I want that in Grandville. I want that for every student in Grandville, but they don't have all this SEL. They don't have everything about emotions and feelings. We need to identify some of this stuff, but we also need to stick to academics and what's going to happen in the real world. So I'm asking you, if you are not able to fight this fight, resign. Resign. If you don't understand what's truly at stake here, the mental anguish that some of your decisions are putting these kids through is disturbing and disgusting.
Thank you, Julie. That concludes our meeting. The next board meeting as at the Grandville Board of Education will be on Monday, February 7th, 2022 at 7 p.m. right here. Thank you.